Hello world, this is John Albertin. It's once again time for another interview. I am sitting here with Gabriel Fischer. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate.
It's very mutual.
First of all, how are you?
Uh, let's just say I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm no longer that young, and the progressing age is showing itself. But I'm all right.
Okay.
I'm all right. I
And
think.
with this situation,
Unfortunately,
at
I'm
the
all right. Well, the situation, the COVID situation. There's nothing I can say that hasn't been said a million times. Of course, everything that happens on the live front is paralyzed. We basically don't exist as a live band at the moment, or none of my projects. We're looking at doing some streaming things because the situation seems to endure much longer than anybody thought. So we are also looking at doing some streaming concerts with Triumph of Death and Triptykon, and I'm supposed to be working on an album for Triptykon,
Yeah.
a studio album, an album for my side project that had to be completely rebooted. That used to be called Nearth, and I'm also looking with Triumph of Death at possibly recording a Triumph of Death album. Besides the live things that we will release, perhaps writing some new music in the Hellhammer style, but of course
Okay.
releasing it as Triumph of Death.
Yeah.
These are the things I'm supposed to do, but right now I'm much more happy reading books and wasting my time.
Okay. Cool.
There are
Or
people,
not so
there are
cool.
people who don't think that's so cool, and eventually things will move. But right now I'm admittedly extremely lazy.
Yeah.
There's been some very drastic events in my private life,
Okay.
and I'm enjoying just doing nothing, enjoying the peace right now. And it's not an excuse, it's just an explanation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, as you already know, we are not here to talk about music for once. We talk about veganism. So, how long?
It's likely much more important than anything I could say about music.
That's cool.
Given the state of the earth and the state of our conduct as human beings on this planet, these topics are far, far more important, even if some people don't like it, but they are far more important
Yes,
than anything that could be said about music.
that's true. But the music gave you the possibility to talk to a lot of people.
It's a responsibility, of course, and it's an opportunity. You're given a platform as a byproduct. You're given a platform to address people.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I have a very critical view on this. I don't want to be a missionary. You know, there are fellow protagonists in the music industry who have become who rate their own importance a bit too highly, I think.
Okay.
And I think that's counterproductive.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm a musician, and you know, I'm not the person who has all the solution. I'm far from it, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm not a politician by choice, of course. So it has a multitude of sides, this platform. But I think it's also wasted if you just talk about whatever, alcohol, music, touring, then you're also wasting it, this opportunity. You're talking also to a great extent to young people.
Yeah.
And what my favorite musicians said in interviews impressed me to a large extent when I was young.
Yes.
So you do have a certain responsibility, and you do reach these people within a certain realistic frame.
Yeah. So first, you as a person, when did you decide to go vegan for yourself?
Far too late, and I'm not just saying that. I'm ashamed of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've talked, of course, to countless vegans and vegetarians, and everybody tells me the same thing. Once you do the step, you regret every minute where you didn't do the step, where you thought it was too difficult, or where you were too lazy, where it was too convenient to just eat whatever was there.
Yeah.
For me, it was about 10 years ago when I
Okay.
became a vegetarian, and once I had made that step, once that thought process starts to actually work, I mean, you know it anyway.
Yeah.
Even before I was a vegetarian, I mean, I knew it. I knew this was not sustainable. I knew this was cruel.
Mm-hmm.
But human beings have this mechanism of lulling themselves into a convenient state of mind
Mm-hmm.
for one reason or another, and I'm ashamed. I was the same. I knew every piece of meat I had on my table was a dead, sentient being.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, like everybody else, I was able to just focus on something else when I was eating. But then, as I got older, the more and more, I found myself unable to finish a piece of meat. I would sit in a restaurant with journalists or something somewhere in the world, and I had these flashes of what was actually on my plate. And from that moment on, I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
And this became, once this started, of course, then you remembered these flashes, and it became more and more strong, and eventually becoming a vegetarian was an automatic process, because I just ate less and less meat. I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, I guess, a process of finally waking up, or finally taking responsibility for what we all know anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And once I became a vegetarian, like many of my friends, then the step to go full vegan was a logical one.
Yeah.
Because then you really start to think about what is happening. You inform yourself even more about the dairy industry, the meat industry, and I'm using this word, of course, with full respect, but the Holocaust that is imposed upon billions of sentient beings who have every right to live on this planet, just like us.
Mm-hmm.
And all these lies that are circulated by the industry. It's bio meat, or I'm eating my meat from a farmer who takes care, it takes good care of the animals.
Mm-hmm.
Like that means they don't have to die.
Yeah.
And like the slaughtering process is any less violent. It's just a huge smoke screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you think about all these things, and nowadays, of course, with all the information that we have, it's very easy to find out how all of this is done. The more you find out, the more you know, I have to go vegan.
Mm-hmm.
So I became vegan maybe 5 years ago or something.
5 years ago.
Something like that. Way too late in my life. I'm 57 now.
Yeah.
To make a long answer even longer, my mother was a professed animal lover and animal protectionist. She campaigned against hunting.
Mm-hmm.
She saved cats that were injured or unwanted and stuff. I mean, to the extreme.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, she raised me as a meat eater, and she ate meat.
Yeah.
It was a total contradiction, and I think this is why my life started like this.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up to think, we need to do something for animals. We need to save animals, but at the same time, in our family, we ate meat, even though we had this attitude. It's complete perversion.
Yeah.
But eventually, you have to take responsibility for your own life, and you cannot blame everything on your parents. So I had to take responsibility, and therefore change my life.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I regret every minute, because it's I cannot imagine living any other way now. Even though I wouldn't consider myself a militant, but it's just logic, it's just conscience. I can't live any other way, and I also know how easy it is.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
underestimated this. I thought it was going to be really difficult, like many others too.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
turns out to be super easy. I have no deficiencies whatsoever.
Mhm.
I feel healthier than ever before, as far as my intake of food. I eat much more healthy food than I used to when I ate normal.
Yeah.
So I have no regrets, and no regret. The only regret I have is that I didn't change
Mm-hmm.
earlier.
Okay.
This is something I cannot reverse, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, do you remember some special eye-opening moment, or?
Eye-opening moments were, of course, other people.
Yeah.
Here and there in my life, my path crossed the path of people who had made that step.
Yeah.
Starting with people who were very distant to me. For example, Geezer Butler of Black Sabbath, I read occasionally of his lifestyle, and I was impressed, but I was like, wow, that's hardcore. That must be very difficult. But then in my immediate circle of friends, of course, Triptycon's bassist, who's been a friend of mine for 15 years,
Yeah.
Vanya, is a vegetarian, and us becoming very close friends and then working together, and basically also sometimes being together 24 hours a day for in the studio or on tour.
Yeah.
You become exposed to that much stronger.
Mm.
And I also had a girlfriend for a while who was a vegetarian, and this really impressed me, and this really set in motion the process.
Yeah.
To see an example and to see, well, it's easy, and it works, and so on, and these are people I respect deeply, so there
Yeah.
must be something to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, mentioning band members, are all members of Triptykon living vegan, or?
No, unfortunately not. It's half-half.
Have.
And this is a pet peeve of mine, you know. Of course, I have no right to talking to the lives of my fellow band members. I would never be so arrogant.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a dictator. This is. I formed this band, but it's a democracy, and this applies, of course, also to their private lives. I have absolutely no right. But of course, it bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see that innocent animals have to die for their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conflict for me.
Yeah.
And these people I'm playing with, I would think they are very intelligent people. I respect them too. They're very very knowledgeable. They're not primitive people.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a huge contradiction.
Yeah.
And there's this hope inside of me that by the example that Vanya and I are giving, that they too will one day make a conversion. They're much younger than me,
Yeah.
so maybe there's some hope at the end of the tunnel. Of course, we have discussions about the topic, and I give them the reasons, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and I've also seen moments where they really were prompted to think. But that's as much as I can do. I cannot, and I don't want to order them to do something. It would be
Yeah.
preposterous.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a conflict for me. For me personally, it's a conflict. Yeah.
Okay. But you decided to stay like this, and
Look, it's extremely difficult for the music that I'm playing. It was traditionally, since the very first day of Hellhammer, it was very difficult to find the fitting musicians, and I had to make a million improvisations in early days when I was unknown, and I didn't have the resources. I had to take the musicians that were around, and for better or for worse, very often for worse. I'm not doing the standard heavy metal. I'm trying to do something artful. I'm trying to do something deep.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a certain caliber of musician.
Yeah,
And
I don't mean.
I'm very fortunate to have these people I'm working with musically and intellectually. I really respect them.
Yeah.
They're not average people. The only place where I think they could improve is in what we're talking about, in their approach towards animal rights or veganism.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I didn't mean stay as a band like this, but stay how you handle this topic.
Yeah, but you know, it's a legitimate question. In an ideal world, of course, I would much prefer to play in a band where everybody takes responsibility on every level, not just on some levels.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I can see, they have a very modern mindset. They're usually on the right side of political things.
Yeah.
So logic would probably dictate that they would also make that step eventually, and I hope that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that me and Vanya are a thought-provoking influence.
Yeah.
But there again, I mean, this comes back to the things we talked about in the beginning. I'm not a missionary.
Yeah.
I happen to think from my own experience that if you are too harsh with these things, you're counterproductive.
Mm.
I was such a rebel all my life. I hated when people told me what to do. I
Exactly,
would usually
yeah.
do exactly the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hated it, and I still do.
Yeah.
So I'm very careful. I'm doing this interview with you, and we're just talking about the thing. I'm not telling people what to do
Yeah.
because I don't like that myself either. But it doesn't hurt to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying the same approach with my friends. I would never ever force my friends to do something.
Yeah.
But if I can engage them in a discussion or make them think for a few minutes, at least it's a little step.
Mm. So you said that it improved your health?
Yes, I'm a diabetic, for example,
Oh, okay.
and also I ate very unhealthily for most of my life, not least because of my profession.
Mm-hmm.
And it was overdue that I changed my diet. And
Yeah.
of course, if anybody knows anything about how meat is created, that it's filled with chemicals and all kinds of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge contributor to heart disease and all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And to abandon this is a very positive step. And to be forced to look among vegetables and so on and so on. It's certainly much healthier to eat rice or broccoli or whatever than to eat meat.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no competition.
So are you into cooking, or what do you like? What do you don't like?
I'm really a very simple person. I was raised in a farm town, in a tiny farm town, and I think this is still reflected, even though I'm now a cosmopolitan.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a very simple person. I'm not complicated at all, and yeah, I love cooking, not elaborately, but yeah, I love cooking, and I'm just making basic things at home. Potatoes, whatever you can do with these,
Yeah.
in any way, shape, or form. I should probably actually eat more vegetables outside of rice and potatoes and so on.
Okay.
But there you go. I mean, compared to the younger Tom, I'm perfect now.
Yeah.
The younger Tom, he didn't really give a toss. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But you still can improve.
There's always room for
Yeah.
improvement, and I'm very, very aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's also. I mean, it comes and goes.
Uh-huh.
There's weeks that are better. There's weeks that are worse. But nothing compares to how I used to live.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay.
Now I feel much better, and my results, my diabetes results, every time I go for a checkup, my specialist, my diabetes specialist, is very happy with me.
Mm-hmm.
Since the change away from meat.
Yeah.
We've noticed the change, and she's very happy about that.
Cool. Do you miss something?
No.
No.
I miss any trace of intelligence in the younger me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should have done this much sooner, and this is really something that bothers me, because I cannot change it.
Mm.
No matter how many people I influence, no matter how healthy I eat now or how meatless I eat now, animals had to die for me.
Mm.
Just so I had 5 minutes of fun at the table.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that worth a life? Is it worth not only the end of the existence of a sentient being who wants to live as desperately as I do, but the way they are being killed in an industrial environment designed to kill as many beings as possible, and the process being so imperfect that a huge percentage of these animals are being processed while still being alive.
Mm.
Not to speak of the fear and the injury and the torture of the transport, sometimes in August throughout Europe, without water or food for days.
Mm.
I mean, this equals what we did a few decades ago to human beings. And there, everybody in the world is completely outraged. But with animals, it's being done every hour, every minute, as we speak right now. Tens of thousands of animals.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have a regret, it's that I idiot did not do it at least a day earlier, would have saved something, or a month earlier, or better, 10 years, 20 years earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
When it turns out it's absolutely no effort whatsoever, I'm not missing anything, and also Geezer Butler did this already in the 1970s when it was really difficult to find replacement products, vegan products.
Is he vegan or vegetarian?
I think he started as a vegetarian, but he's vegan now.
Okay.
But I read an interview where he said it was extremely difficult on tour, for example, in the 1970s to find food for him.
Mm-hmm.
That he was stuck to like eating baked potatoes the whole tour, because everything else was
Yeah.
And nowadays it's so easy, and the products are so amazing. There's such an endless range, and they're all delicious.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't miss anything. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So that there's absolutely there's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, the same with information. I mean,
Yeah,
in the 70s you didn't have internet or anything,
exactly.
and
Which makes me respect people who did it at that time even more.
yeah,
Those were the true visionaries.
yeah,
That's the regret
That's
I had.
true.
Otherwise, I have no regrets whatsoever, and there's no way I would ever change it.
mm,
Once you're there, I think once you made that step, if you make it for the right reason, not just to be trendy.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, when I walk by a patch of grass with cows, when I mountain bike, for example, through the fields and I see cows, I feel terrible seeing them, seeing that they look so innocent. They have no idea what's going to happen to them,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel also guilty that these animals had to die just for my egotism.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we human beings, we crawled out as caves, we started walking on two legs, and then decided to subjugate the entire planet. With what right?
Mm-hmm.
How infinitely egotistical is that process? We once we learned to use tools, once we walked on two legs, we were like, all right, everything that's here, everything is ours, serves
Mhm.
us, is our slave,
Yeah.
and we stop at nothing.
Mm.
And we, in addition to that, if we kill somebody, we don't do it kindly. If there's a kind killing, and we don't do it quickly, or
Yeah.
if you know the process in a slaughterhouse and so on. What infinite arrogance of our race.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm seeing when I see animals somewhere on a farm.
Yeah.
You're raised nowadays. You're raised in kindergarten or by your parents. You say, yeah. When you go to the countryside, there's farms, and you see animals, goats and cows, and it's idyllic and it's beautiful.
Mm.
In reality, they're waiting there to be tortured and butchered.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no excuse for this. It's an endlessly egotistical process, and we take it as normal. We take it for granted.
Yeah.
And if you say I'm a vegan because I care for the animal, people laugh at you and say, "What, really? You're fringe." No, the others are fringe. People
Mhm.
who think this is normal.
Yeah.
It's like defending the SS.
Mm-hmm. Or slavery, or
Yeah, anything.
yeah.
The extermination of the native people on the American continent. All of these things,
Mm.
you can compare it by saying, no, this is normal, it's okay. It serves me, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Let's kill uncounted millions of American Indians because it serves me.
Mm.
Let's kill the Jews because we can take their houses and their possessions and their jewelry. That's okay, it serves me. Let's use slaves because it serves me.
Mm.
That's how we back this up. This
Yeah.
is how we justify it.
Mm.
And without wanting to take away from all these human tragedies, the numbers of animals that we're killing is so staggering. Any human massacre pales in comparison to it.
Mm.
Any human injustice pales in comparison to it.
Yeah.
But it's fine. We're humans, we have the right to do it.
Mm.
Fuck them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I no longer wanted to live that life, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And if that makes me, oh, Tom is crazy, Tom is a radical, then so be it.
Yeah. Okay. How is the acceptance in the metal scene on tour?
I'm sure there's a lot of people who speak behind somebody's back,
Yeah.
but from what I see, it has risen immensely.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in this industry now 39 years, and just if you think about the catering backstage at festivals or so, there used to be like nothing vegetarian or vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Now every festival has huge vegan offerings, and that means there's a demand. It's become normal. You find it everywhere.
Yeah.
And putting it on your rider, your band's rider, is normal.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be very difficult to fulfill a rider that has like vegan or vegetarian requests on it. Now it's totally normal.
Yeah.
And so many fans come up to me during autograph sessions and say, I'm vegan too, I'm vegetarian, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that has really changed. There was hardly any of that years ago.
Yeah.
Especially in the last, I would say, maybe 10 years, this has changed dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. And of course, among musicians, you know that. Among musicians, there's more and more and more. And
Yeah.
more and more decide to be outspoken about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what we just talked about earlier, because it's just infinite cruelty that is, you know, even if you like meat, even if you say, okay, I accept you like the taste of meat, but it makes you support infinite cruelty. You know?
Yeah.
It's not about the taste, it's about something much bigger.
Mm-hmm. So, let's dig a bit deeper.
That wasn't deep enough, of course.
No, personally,
Mm.
I mean. You talked a lot about your childhood, youth. You described it as hell. You've said that you have nothing but hate, aggression, scorn for humanity. Do you think the empathy you now, maybe you always had, but you now live for the animals, is somehow connected to your own story?
Well, this is a very complex question, and it's not quite that black and white. I think humanity would theoretically have immeasurable possibilities. If you look at art and architecture and science, it's fascinating. There's the other side of having risen out of the caves and having become civilized in quotation marks. We are capable of amazing things, and I look up to these things. My hobbies are not least things that come from science, aviation, space flight, quantum physics, as far as I can understand it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
These are amazing things, or art, architecture. My scorn reflects our behavior on this planet.
Yeah.
Not what we could be. I'm very aware of the immense possibilities, the positive possibilities that we carry inside of us. Have we chosen to enact these? Well, let's look at the last 10,000 years of human history.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most consistent thing we've done? War,
yeah.
destruction, death. So yes, there is a certain disrespect for this, because this is not the life I would lead.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the life I condone.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I have nothing to say on this planet. I don't have that power. This is the part of humanity that I despise. My own family. My grandfather escaped from German militarism. Came from Germany, escaped German militarism. His sister supported what was going on from 1933 to 1945 in Germany. So my family was totally divided already, and I grew up with this knowledge. There was a lot of discussion about this. So I was exposed to the fallout of war, of fascism. And then as I grew up, there was the Vietnam War. Literally every single day in the news there was images from the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And then the next war, and the next war, and the next war. This is my youth, and how can you not start to think about humanity and our conduct on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
When you see on the Swiss news, I mean, you didn't even have to go look for some fringe news outlet. When you saw on the Swiss news on TV, you would see children burnt by napalm and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a race that I can be proud of? I doubt it.
Yeah.
So I think these are the roots of my feelings.
Yeah.
I wish we would harvest the positive things we are capable of.
Yeah.
We could be an amazing race.
Yeah.
But we call ourselves civilized, and yet we still function in accordance with the primitive urges that are deep within our genes. We have attained tools to be sophisticated, but our own mechanisms are very often still grounded in instincts that come from millions of years ago that are no longer necessary given the life we are living now.
Yeah.
Theoretically, there's enough to share for everybody,
Yeah.
including animals.
Mm-hmm.
But we elect, no, we need more space, we need more food, we need more wealth. And we in German we say, we gehen über Leichen, we walk across dead bodies to attain this.
Mm-hmm.
We don't give a shit. There's no stopping us.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people totally disagree and think I'm an idiot for saying all of this. I've heard it 10 million times. But it's a fact. I'm simply repeating fact.
Mm-hmm.
You can read in any history book.
Yeah.
I'm simply, just because you're not saying it doesn't make it, it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And my own personal upbringing pales in comparison. My mother, after the divorce from my father when I was 6 years old, my mother, who was actually a very modern, progressive woman, descended into some kind of mental hell. First saved cats, but then became a crazy cat hoarder.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest number of cats at a given time that lived with me in our apartment were like 100 cats. But of course, throughout all the years of my youth, it was much more altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And we had no money, and hygienic conditions were defy description.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really not me who talks about this all the time. I had a stretch of a few months when Celtic Frost was reunited, where a journalist asked me about this, and for the first time I talked about this in public. And then other journalists talked about it, but then it became enough for me. I had said it, and that's good.
Okay.
But ever since then, I'm being asked about it.
Yeah.
I don't need to really, show this to everybody. I mean, I've talked about it, it's okay.
Yeah.
But of course, given these circumstances in within my home, and then also in the world in general, of course you grow up with a certain skepticism towards the human race. What can I say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just I'm in contact with a lot of vegan activists, and really a lot of them suffered depression or borderline stuff like that, and now they are using their time and energy for activism for other beings who suffer.
Which is of course the logical consequence.
Yeah.
Look, these are all very complex topics that will probably take an entire book to
Mm-hmm.
digest and
Which
work
is not
out.
yet written, I think.
No.
Which should be written.
Of course, if you give up in some way on humanity, what is left?
Okay.
Nature and animals.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be people who say, yeah, but animals kill each other too. So what's the difference? The difference is that we human beings have given ourselves to limitless greed. We're never happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we kill a little animal so we have dinner. We do it on an industrial scale, and we kill too many, and the meat that's not being sold is being thrown away.
Mm-hmm. And we have the possibility to choose.
We have the possibility to choose and to think.
Mm-hmm.
We're no longer dependent on these things. We have all the science, all the mechanism, and medically and scientifically it's been proven that you can easily survive on a million other things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the debate that human beings might not have been meat eaters to begin with, and so
Yeah.
on and so on. And an animal never kills to have a mass of meat and then throw it away.
Mm.
And it has no choice, you know.
Yeah.
An animal cannot go to a supermarket and get the salad,
Mm.
and so on and so on. And our animal is not in control of its instincts. We claim we are.
Yeah.
We always say we are at the top of the pyramid. That's the reason we put ourselves above the animals.
Yeah.
In reality, no. We are capable, but we're not doing it. We don't give a flying shit. We live to the most primitive instincts. I mean, you know, look at the world.
Mm.
There's war, constantly. And nowadays, with all the social media, with all the information channels, we are confronted with pictures of cruelty, of people dying, of nature being ruined constantly.
Mm.
By the millions, these images appear. Does it prompt anybody to change? All the people in power, all the people who go fight out there? No.
Yeah.
And it won't for the next, I don't know how many, whatever, hundreds of years, thousands of years, if ever.
Yeah.
So if people are mad at me because I find some harsh words about humanity, be my guest.
Mm.
I'm not basing it on Tom's ego, I'm basing it on the reality that I'm seeing. It
Mhm.
wasn't my idea
Yeah.
to make the world like this.
Mm.
I'm also a human being, and I feel responsible for it, but I, as a single human being here in Zurich, Switzerland, cannot change it. I can only change my personal environment and try to talk to you and other people about this.
Mm.
The people who are in charge, and I was going to say thousands, but it's hundreds of millions who are in armies and work in slaughterhouses and stuff. They don't change. They go on like this, and they will go on forever.
Mm.
There's going to be, I mean, if you have a time machine, you go in the future, I'm sure there's going to be war too.
Yeah.
We're very stubborn when it comes to learning in a positive manner. When we are given the possibility of inventing ever more hellish killing machines, then we are the first in line.
Yeah.
Then we apply all of our intelligence to make the weapons even more cruel, even more effective.
Mm.
I mean, look at the United States, and I apologize for taking the United States as an example. There's of course many others, but if you pump in excess of $700 billion into your military, imagine what this could do if applied to positive things. You know, helping people, devising alternative energies and stuff.
Mm.
We would be out of the ruts for a long time already.
Yeah.
But no, we put it into devices of killing.
Yeah. So the instinct is still fear that someone else could take away your security.
It will never change. I think it's very deep in our DNA.
Yeah.
I've come to this gloomy conclusion, and if somebody proves me wrong, I'm the first one to applaud it.
Yeah.
But I've come to this conclusion that we'll never change. This is obviously in our DNA.
Yeah.
We feel obviously happy with it, otherwise we would have stopped it thousands of years ago.
Mhm.
It's not a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
If we felt this was terrible, we would have stopped it, because we can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's this thing. One of my private fascinations is with spaceflight, and you read time and again from astronauts once they been to space for the first time. They look down and they see how tiny this all is,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
how thin the layer of atmosphere, how small the countries are. And they come back and they say, once you're in space, you realize we can only exist if we coexist.
Yeah.
Yet here down on Earth, we don't have that view. We don't think about coexisting.
Yeah.
We think about, no, we want their land, we
And
want
we
their,
don't-
you know.
We don't think about how fragile this whole thing is.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm very, very egotistical. We want Lebensraum and resources.
Yeah.
And of course it doesn't stop with human beings.
Yeah.
Animals have even less means to defend themselves. We're just coming and we destroy their habitats to mine precious metals and whatever, you know.
Mm.
We take their water so we have it, and so on and so on and so on. It's an endless source of we could talk about this forever.
Yeah.
There's so many things.
So you think that animal agriculture being uh, the biggest reason for climate change will in the end destroy the planet because we're not able to change, or
We're already in it. We're already in it. The models of the change of the planet have to constantly be revised towards the extreme. We're already in it. And some of the damage we've done, even if we would theoretically stop all of these things now, this moment, there would be a lag for I don't know how many thousands of
Sure,
years
yeah.
still.
But the
But
point
we
of
are
no
not
return
stopping.
is not.
In my opinion, we've crossed it.
We've
I'm not a
crossed it, okay.
scientist. I'm just Tom Fischer, and
Yeah.
an idiot guitar player who has no idea of anything. But in my tiny little opinion, we've crossed it long ago.
Emotionally somehow.
No, that's
Right.
with everything.
Yeah.
We've crossed it. I mean, even in my short life, if you look at the time span of the universe, I'm 57. When I was born, there was less than half of the number of people on this planet than there are now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now there's more than double,
Yeah.
and there's no stopping. So of course we've crossed it. There's only so many resources on this planet, and I'm talking now from the human perspective. When we talk about resources, we only talk about us. We don't give a shit about all the other animals and beings that also need resources, that also need food. We don't give a flying shit about them.
Or future generations,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Just like for example, when there's a forest fire or a flood, it's always like so many people died. Who gives a shit about the animals?
Yeah.
And it's the same with our resources and so on. But even if you take only the humans into consideration, we've already exceeded what's here, and we're living on credit basically. So yeah, we've crossed it. And it would probably, I don't know if we could do something good, if we would decide right now, this minute, to change it, it would probably take a superhuman effort to at least mitigate some of the damage.
Yeah.
But it probably couldn't be. But we're not stopping now. There's more and more people, and they too, I mean, who can blame them? They want riches too, they want their resources too, they want water too, they want electricity too, they want their electronic gadgets too, so we've crossed it, and we keep crossing it, we don't give a toss.
Yeah, okay.
And there again, all the scientific knowledge and research is out there, and we know it and we don't care.
Yeah.
And this interview is going to end my career.
So, you said you're not a missionary, but all
I've
these
become one during this interview, apparently.
all these things we talked about, do they somehow influence your lyrics, your music, your art,
Constantly.
but not as a missionary, more like
My
your own feelings?
My lyrics are just a reflection of my emotions, my thinking.
Yeah, yeah,
When I was younger and I hadn't lived life yet, and I haven't gotten any life experience, Martin, Eric Ain and I, we used abstract topics, like ancient protagonists from history to convey a message. By now I've lived a life and I've gained some life experience, and there's so much that's inside of me that I no longer need to take third-party stories.
yeah,
And when I write something, it's always very authentic. I never write anything fantasy or anything like that. I always write what I think, and then now you know what I think,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how I feel, and how it tortures me. Or rather, the inactivity tortures me. The fact that I alone cannot change anything for the good. Because the more we are, the less an individual can do.
yeah,
And that's the position I and you and we all find ourselves in. And these things, of course, leak into my lyrics. What can I say? But they're not missionary lyrics. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just reflecting on the things that I experience on my path through life. Should I sing about beer cans?
A lot of people do, with success.
Maybe that's the reason why I'm not successful.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything else important?
It was nice to be a musician until today. It was nice to
Yeah,
have an
it's-
audience until today.
Yeah, it's about what you said, 40. How many years?
It's in a half a year. It's going to be 40 years
Okay.
since I started playing music.
Yeah, it was a good career. No?
Yeah. No, I stand behind what I said.
Yeah.
It's of course an extremely unpleasant topic.
Mm.
Whether you are on my side, and it's really not my side. It's simply about
No,
reality.
It's reality.
But whether you accept reality or not, it's unpleasant.
Mm.
It's hugely unpleasant, and it's really not about me wanting to change people's life. It's about me wanting to avoid a catastrophe.
Mm.
And once a catastrophe happens, and we're in it already, it affects everybody. Whether you accept these realities or not, whether you're a hunter or not a hunter,
Mm.
it will affect everybody, or it already affects everybody. I just read recently that pollution kills an immense amount of people already.
Mm.
It's not that we have to wait for it.
Yeah.
We're already in it. You know, and we're not stopping. So hate me, love me, these are the realities.
Mm.
And it would do us good to think about it once or twice a day. Okay, now I have said enough.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.